Welcome to Health News and Views, a podcast dedicated to bringing some clarity to the health disparities in the Black and Brown communities. If you believe there's a connection between food, sickness, and health, then you're in the right place. Let's begin the process of unraveling the truth. And now, your host, Lynn Pete.
Greetings and welcome to another episode of Health News and Views, Food, the Final Frontier. I'm your host, Lynn Pete. Thank you so much for stopping by. Today we're going to be discussing a topic that is at the heart of everything that Health News and Views and Food, the Final Frontier consistently and for the last almost 3 years now has been spelling this to the Black and Brown community, because we are hit with most of the chronic diseases that are listed by the CDC. Fortunately, we hold the #1 spot in every one of those diseases. And so today I will uncover the hidden dangers in our daily lives and find better ways for us to live. And I say we because, like you, I'm as guilty as charged, and I'm in food recovery too. And so this information, as much as it is for you, it's also for me too. So today's episode is something that is affecting millions, and it's our food. And we've been told that modern food is safe, convenient, and even healthy. But what if I told you that the ultra-processed foods lining your grocery store shelves and is actually fueling the chronic diseases like diabetes, obesity, and high blood pressure? And the same companies willing to sell us this food are also profiting from the medications that we take to fix the problem once we realize there is a problem. And there is a problem. If you ever say to yourself, I just have to have that, I just do, that's a problem, because you don't have to have anything, right? But before we go on, let me share this clip with you. Dr. Chris Van Tulloken, take it away.
Poor diet is now the leading cause of early death on planet Earth for human beings. The science is now really clear that the more ultra-processed food you eat, the higher your risk of early death, cancer, heart attacks, strokes, inflammatory diseases like Crohn's disease, metabolic disease like type 2 diabetes, mental health problems like anxiety and depression, and finally, and perhaps most worryingly of all, dementia.
I really wanted you to hear that portion of Chris Van Tulloken, and he is amazing. I highly suggest that you time and find him on the internet. He's one of my favorites, one of my absolute favorites. But going forward, here's what else I wanted to chat with you about. And I want to talk to some of the ultra-processed foods that he was talking about are designed primarily for profit, and that's the trap. That's the processed food trap. They're ultra-processed foods. They're designed for profit, not for nutrition. They're loaded with refined sugars, as he was starting to explain, artificial sweeteners, preservatives, and seed oils. Now, what's a seed oil? You heard me talk about that before. That's canola, that's palm, that's sunflower, that's canola oil. Those are seed oils. There's no vegetables and vegetable oils. You've heard me say that before. So these seed oils are creating problems and wreaking havoc in our system. They're engineered to be addictive, and they trigger overeating, insulin resistance, and even inflammation. They're marketed mostly as low-fat, sugar-free, or fortified, but they're still nutritionally empty. Example, just take this for example. If you look at a box of healthy cereal, and every once in a while I like to have some healthy cereal, so I go for like a Honey Nut Cheerio, but one of the organic kinds. It's still unhealthy. It's often labeled as whole grain and vitamin fortified. And I always ask the question, why was it fortified with vitamins? What did you take out of it? If you flip it over, you'll find a long list of unpronounceable chemicals that have high fructose corn syrup. That's factory made. That is not nature made. That is made in a factory. High fructose corn syrup and artificial dyes. Those two are chemicals that are factory made. And these foods don't nourish you. They keep you in a constant cycle of hunger, craving, and disease. And then there's the medication trap. And chronic diseases like diabetes, obesity, and are really lifestyle related. We know the medications that they give, a pill for your ill, are given instead of real solutions. And yes, now we have drugs like metformin, Ozempic, and statin drugs and blood pressure meds, but they only manage the symptoms. Many of us continue eating processed foods, and I say we, because like I said, I'm in food recovery too. And we're believing that if you take the meds, that'll fix the damage. Wrong. The food industry and the pharmaceutical industry work together. It's time for us to work together too. And one keeps you sick, that's the food industry, and the other profits from your illness. Imagine if you had a car with a warning light flashing. Instead of fixing the engine, or finding out of why the check engine light is on, we just cover the light with a piece of tape. That's exactly what happens when you take medication without fixing your diet. The root cause is still there and getting worse. How do we break free? Here's a couple of things. Ditch the ultra-processed foods. Buy, and you hear me say that probably every podcast, buy whole foods. That's the foods that have names like eggs, but eggs don't have a label on it. Beans, there's no label on beans. They tell you that's what's in the can or that's what's in the dry package. Frozen veggies are if you can't get fresh. And real meats. Avoid chemical-laden diet foods. Everything has artificial sweeteners. They disrupt your gut health and insulin balance. And cook at home. You've heard me say this before. Cook at home. Even simple meals like stir-fried veggies and eggs are healthier than processed health foods. And move your body. Even 15-minute walks after meals will help your blood sugar regulation. Read the labels. If you can't pronounce the ingredients, then it's not real food. And if they have to market it to you and tell you it's organic or it's natural ingredients. Well, you have to tell me that, then it's probably not natural, okay? And you don't have to be perfect, but you do have to be aware. Start by swapping one ultra-processed meal a day for a real food, and your body will notice, and it will thank you. And in closing, the food industry profits from your addiction, okay? And while the pharmaceutical companies profit from treating the damage that was made from eating the food, this becomes a self-sustaining business model and one that keeps consumers dependent on both bad food and lifelong medication. This is crazy. We've been told a lie, that processed foods are safe, that our medications will fix everything, that you don't have a choice. But now, you know the truth. It's time to take control of your health, one meal at a time, one step at a time, one informed decision at a time. And if you found this information helpful, please share it with someone who needs to hear the message, and stay tuned for my upcoming ebook where we'll dive deeper into the crisis and the solutions that you can use today. And just as a caveat, please understand in the current political climate that we're in right now, this is what the government folks who want to slash these budgets are saying. We give folks the SNAP program, for example. They buy the ultra-processed foods. They're in becoming sick from eating the foods, and now we have to medicate them. And they're saying that the health industry, and you may have heard this on one of my previous podcasts, the health industry is running up to about a $4 trillion deficit. It's almost as large as the defense budget. That's what's being spent. So if they're looking at doing cuts, what I'm going to say to you is, you take the first step. Don't wait until they cut the programs. You have to take charge of your own life and the food that you're going to ingest. The stores are filled with sugar-laden, salty snacks and foods that the manufacturers know are addictive. We've got to break the cycle. Until next time, stay informed, stay empowered, and always question everything. Make it a powerful day. Peace.